Hello, this is Chuck Ridgway, Automation Technology Manager at Horner. It's Tuesday. It's time for another technical topic. Well, as many of you may have noticed by now, I'm off the road, back in familiar surroundings, but only long enough to record this video because I'm going on vacation. How about that? And today's video ought to be pretty short, not because I'm in such a hurry to hit the road on my vacation, that's going to be nice, but because today's topic is pretty straightforward. Here's our topic for today. Expand the XL Prime using a USB hub. Now, a few weeks ago, we had a live stream and the topic was using 2 Ethernet ports with XL Prime. Now, in that video, we explained that due to chip shortages, in order to take advantage of the 2 Ethernet functionality, you had to utilize an included USB to Ethernet adapter. Now, that has no impact whatsoever on performance and a minimal impact on installation. However, that adapter does utilize the USB port, and there's only one on XL Prime. What if you want to implement multiple USB peripherals? What do you do then? What if you're not even using a dual Ethernet unit and you still want to implement multiple USB peripherals? Well, today, in today's topic, we're going to show you how to integrate a USB hub so that you can accomplish that very purpose. Let's break down today's topic. Okay, we're going to start out with a quick review of XL Prime, just a couple of slides. We're going to talk about the different types of USB devices that are supported by the OCS and how you might utilize those in your application. Of course, we'll talk about selecting a USB hub, and we'll talk about the Horner tested chipsets that you might want your hub to be based on. And later on, I'll do a bench demonstration where I take 3 USB peripherals and integrate them with a single XL Prime unit on my bench. All right, here we go. Here's our quick review of XL Prime. What is XL Prime? Well, it's our latest series of OCS all-in-one controllers, and it's designed to provide an easy transition for XL series users. Why might XL series users want to transition? Well, there are some advantages to XL Prime. It's got a faster microprocessor. We've eliminated rechargeable batteries, which are always a limitation in terms of long-term performance, especially in harsh environments. And also very important these days, the core components are easier to source long-term. Now, 2 models in the XL Prime family, the XL7 Prime and the XL10 Prime, support 2 wired Ethernet ports. Now, due to part shortages, like I mentioned in the opening, to take advantage of LAN2, you need to utilize a USB to Ethernet adapter, which is included in the box. Because the XL Prime only has 1 port, some customers who are already using USB peripherals or other USB peripherals may want to utilize a USB hub in order to get everything into the same system. And really, even for customers that aren't using dual Ethernet, there are many applications where multiple USB peripherals are desirable. Let's take a look at which type of USB peripherals are most utilized in an OCS application. Let's start with USB flash drives. Of course, these are most commonly used as a portable drive for intermittent connection to OCS. In other words, a drive that sometime is connected to the OCS and sometime is carried to another location for the purposes of file transfer. Now, these days, almost everything you can do with the built-in micro SD drive in an OCS, you can do using the USB flash drive. There absolutely are some exceptions, but they're getting fewer all the time. For a lot of the functions, micro SD is the default drive, or drive A, which you don't have to specify in your path, and USB is the alternate drive, which must be specified as drive B if you want to utilize it. So once again, utilizing USB flash drives is a common application. Let's talk about USB cameras. What would you use USB cameras for? Well, you'd probably use them to provide a live look or a live window inside a machine or into some area that the operator can't easily see from their normal location. So functionally, that's what you would probably use a USB camera for. And there is a USB video standard for cameras. It's called UVC, and that's the same standard that webcams use. But in addition to consumer webcams, you can also find some more ruggedized USB-style cameras. Now, you can actually implement or install up to 4 cameras connected through a hub with your OCS. So you could have up to 4 different windows into the machine. Now, that is a little bit tricky, though, and I don't want to oversell that, because the only way that the OCS can differentiate between camera to camera is by the order in which those cameras boot up, or the order in which they are powered up and logged into the USB hub. So in most applications, that's pretty difficult to implement. So most of the time, it's just a single USB camera that gets implemented in the application. Now, how does it get implemented? Well, in the graphics editor in Cscape, there's an OCS video object that's available, and you can select streaming as your mode for that video object. The other option is a pre-recorded video, which sometimes is used for like help purposes, for instance. However, if you select streaming with that video object, you can then place a viewing window on the screen. And that viewing window is a fixed size of 1/4 VGA resolution, but still very functional. Now, another really great option that requires a USB port is a Horner Wi-Fi to USB adapter. This adds Wi-Fi capability to any OCS that has a USB-A port. And when I say adds, I mean adds. It does not replace LAN1. It does not replace LAN2 if you've got a 2 Ethernet solution. It adds Wi-Fi to the mix. So with a 2-port OCS, in the end, you've got 3 Ethernet ports, 2 wired and 1 wireless. Very cool. Now, there's 2 different ways you can use that Horner Wi-Fi USB adapter. First, you can use it as its own access point. In other words, it can create a Wi-Fi network locally at the machine that up to 8 other devices can log into. So that's great. Maybe if you want OCSs to talk to each other wirelessly, and Wi-Fi is an appropriate choice in that installation. Or it's also great if you want to provide WebMI access, wireless WebMI access in the area around the machine. Very cool. You can also use this device in what's called client mode. And in client mode, it just provides a way for the OCS itself to log in to an existing Wi-Fi network, maybe in a plant, maybe on a campus, maybe in some other application where there's an existing Wi-Fi network. So it allows you to specify the SSID and the password that this device will log into so that the OCS can have access to that wireless network. Now let's talk about selecting a USB hub. What criteria should be used for selecting a USB hub? Now, to take some risk out of the equation, we have actually thoroughly tested a chipset called the Realtek RTS5411. Now, this chipset is used in quite a few different USB 3.0 hubs out there. And even though the OCS is not necessarily based around USB 3.0, like most other industrial devices, this chipset, we've proven through testing, works really well with the XL Prime. So if you can find a USB hub based around that chipset, that's a big risk reducer right there. Other things you should consider include its construction. Is it constructed appropriately for your application? When I apply USB hubs, if possible, I prefer to find ones that might be a little more ruggedly constructed. Sometimes that means they're made of aluminum or metal, but not always. There's some really well-made plastic stuff out there as well, of course, because of all the plastic equipment you see in industrial applications as well. So that's one consideration. How well is it constructed? Another is the voltage. Is it a voltage that's going to be easy for you to supply in the application? So those are a couple things to consider when you're talking about selecting a USB hub. Now I want to get on the bench and demonstrate connecting 3 different USB devices to an XL7 Prime. Let's go ahead and add a USB hub to our XL7 Prime. So the hub I'm using here today is from StarTech. They make pretty good stuff. Now I verified that it's using the appropriate chipset, at least the one that's been tested by Horner. Doesn't mean others won't work, just means that's the one we've tested with. You can see on this guy, we've got a USB host connection here. Now this one happens to be USB 3.0, but that doesn't make that much difference as long as you have the appropriate cable. This one is powered by 12 volts, and it's got a convenience switch there. Also, you can see we've got 3 USB-A style ports here and 1 USB-C style port. So let's go ahead and connect this to our OCS. Now, I've already connected the host cable on the OCS end here to the XL Primes or XL7 Primes USB-A port. So let's go ahead and connect that first. So we'll make that connection. All right, next we need to connect power. I'll go ahead and do that now. All right, we can see if we take a look at that little LED right there, we do have power. Okay, so now I have 3 devices that I'm going to connect up on the bench here, just as a test and as a demonstration. Let's start with the USB to Ethernet adapter that comes in the box with the XL7 Prime. So let's take a look at that first and connect it up first. So I'll make that connection here. We should be able to see status update pretty much immediately, and we do. And not only are we linked and we're talking at 100 megahertz full duplex, but we're immediately communicating with another device, and it turns out it happens to be Seascape, which is connected via Ethernet. So 1 device down. Now that was certainly easy. The next device we're going to take a look at is this Horner Wi-Fi adapter that plugs in via USB. It's called the HE-Wi-Fi USB. This is an early unit that I happen to have here. We've tweaked the unit over the past couple of years to improve performance and production yield and those sorts of things. But it's a very handy device that allows you to add Wi-Fi capability to any XL series or XL Prime series product that has a USB-A port. So it can act as an access point. It can also act as allowing the OCS to be a client on another network. Very handy. So let's connect it now. Okay, so we'll connect it there to the middle port. You can see almost immediately that it was connected. And then over time, now it has to log into the local network. That takes a little bit longer. We should see our IP address and our signal strength fill in there. So let's see, it shouldn't take more than a couple more seconds and we should be all set. There we go. There's our IP address. There's our signal strength. Okay, so we're 2 for 2 so far. Next thing I want to connect, of course, is about the most common thing you can connect over USB. And that is a USB flash drive. Here we go. Let's see if we can get this guy in focus. There we are. Let's go ahead and connect him next. That guy's connected. And we should see, and we just saw, our removable media object on the screen go from red, which means there's no drive connected, to green, meaning we have a drive connected. Outstanding. So if I press this object here, I can see the files on that drive. It's pretty much just the files that came on that flash drive from the factory, from SanDisk. So there we go. Really, that's all there is to it. It's basically find the right USB hub, or at least find a USB hub that has the chipset that Horner has tested. It doesn't mean others won't work. It just means that we've tested with that particular one if you can find the right chipset. Connect it up via a host cable. That host cable may vary depending on which hub you're using, and then connect up your devices, and away you go. That's it for our content for today. Let's do a quick wrap up. The Horner OCS currently supports a variety of USB devices, including USB flash drives, USB cameras, a Horner Wi-Fi USB adapter, and if you happen to be using the XL7 Prime or the XL10 Prime, it also utilizes a USB to Ethernet adapter for LAN2. But don't despair. If you're interested in using multiple USB peripherals, USB hubs are easy to integrate, especially if you can find one that utilizes a Realtek 5411 as its chipset for your application. This is a reminder, we're here every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, whether we're presenting it fully live or whether we're presenting a pre-recorded video live, and we've always got folks standing by to answer any questions you have If you're watching live on Tuesday, we'll answer questions from the chat section. If you're watching a replay, give us those comments and questions in the comment section. We will see those very quickly and respond to those very quickly as well. Now, next week, we've got a great topic for you. We're going to show you how to plan an OCS I/O installation. Now, OCS I/O is an exciting new product line. It's the very latest expansion and remote I/O family from Horner, ground up design from Horner, and we think you're going to love the next topic. So, until next time, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything. And by the way, we're now over 1,000 subscribers, which is quite an accomplishment because we started pretty much from zero just a couple years ago. But once again, until we see you next week, well, I'll be on vacation. However, there'll be another video on Tuesday. And until then, let's all get out there and do us some good.